Hey, Pro Organizers, it's your podcast co host, Melissa. And before we get into our new episode, I just want to let everyone know we are open for enrollment of a new cohort of our course and community organizing essentials. And this course, you guys, came directly from my heart. It comes from me genuinely loving organizing with clients. And one of the first things that Jen asked me to do when I started working at Pro Organizer Studio was, hey, we need this course. We need this community. And I absolutely love this group of women so much. This course is all about organizing with clients. What do you do when the client opens that door and then you go, oh, I'm in charge now. I have to figure out what to do. And sometimes that's overwhelming. You walk into someone's house and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do next? We teach you what that next is. So if you are feeling like, hey, I need a little bit more confidence of how to deal with any client situation, whether it's there are boxes from floor to ceiling, or my client has a super hard time making decisions and letting things go, what are the best bins to use in a kitchen, or how do I shop for clients? All of those questions, anything that is about working with a client, we cover in Organizing Essentials. I have added some new modules. We are doing a live Zoom once a month for you to ask any organizing question that you have. Everything is fair game in Organizing Essentials. It's such a great community of women, and we would love to have you join. This cohort is closing on March 31st, and if you join before then, we have a couple of extra bonuses that we will be throwing your way. One of them is a private Zoom with me just for people who have joined in March. So I would absolutely love to get to know you and love to know all about you and your clients and all of that good stuff. So please head to the show notes for the link to join us, or you can go to our website, proorganizerstudio.com, and click courses. The course and the community, the Zooms, the Facebook group, all of that stuff, it's $249, and I promise you it will be some of the best money you spend in your business this year. I super promise you. You will not regret it. All right. One of the things that I have wanted to do is really focus on some of our community members. So we have two different courses, Inspired Organizer and Organizing Essentials. And I love focusing on members of our groups. We have hundreds of organizers from across the globe that are in our courses. And it's just such an amazing group of women, and they have the best stories. So I would like to introduce you to my friend Kris. She lives in Texas, and she was doing organizing as a part-time gig, and now as of very recently, she has left her full-time job. She is organizing now as her full-time career, and she tells us all about that transition and lots of other things. So I would really love to introduce you to my friend Kris Hargrove. We are back on the Pro Organizer Studio podcast, where we are bringing you inspiration from real life organizers and hearing all about their businesses. What we're doing here in our series is we want to interview people that are in our course community. So we have two different courses, Inspired Organizer and Organizing Essentials, and just want to talk to people in our community about how they built their businesses and all things organizing, because it is really just nice to be able to offer people the inspiration of, hey, here's what my business looks like. Maybe this is what you want to build. So can you tell us a little bit about your business, where you are, how you operate, all that good stuff?
Yes. So I got the itch to organize late 2020.
Okay.
Through doing my own home. Never in my life did I think I was going to go down a career path of being an organizer.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of others can relate to that. It just, something clicks in your brain while you're doing it. And I found that I had connected with a strength that I didn't really know that was deep within me. And it just came to light, and it was so clear. So I started last year. I think my first client was in May and did very well. And then this year I've grown a lot. But for those who, are doing this part-time and also working a full-time job, because that's kind of where I've been, just stick with it. It gets a little tricky, but just stick with it, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I will be retiring from my full-time job this year.
That is really exciting. You are actually the second person that's doing that exact same thing. The second person I've talked to today that you're both saying goodbye to your full-time day jobs to start organizing full-time. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to go back to something you said. So you were talking about you were doing your own home, that's how I got into organizing too. And there was just something that was really kind of this call that you had to answer. So can you talk a little bit more about that? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I really struggled with three spaces in my home. So it was the fridge, the pantry, and my closet.
Okay.
Pretty minimalist person, just naturally organized person, but these areas, when the family had access to those areas, multiple people, it got a little messy. And I remember being in Costco. This is probably months and months before I even started organizing, and I saw they had a 4-piece fridge organizing set.
Okay.
And my brain went, "What?" "Oh, I think I need that." And I said, "You're coming home with me." And literally that's how it all started. It was, I did my fridge and I was like, "Ooh, I see how this can work." And then was like, "Okay, now my pantry. Okay, now this." And I've started doing my own house. I was so excited to organize that I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I mean, brush my teeth, not shower, get straight to doing whatever project I was working on. And I couldn't wait to wake up and work on my project. And that's when I realized this is like, I've never felt like this before doing work. Like,
Yes. That's 100%. I mean, I'm like, I just totally resonate with everything you're saying because that's exactly how I was. I was like, I am excited to wake up and do this. And I would like to do this in other people's houses because I feel so happy.
yes. Yes. And that's why I just, throughout the process of doing my home, I kept telling my husband, "I don't understand. This is bringing me so much joy and happiness and excitement that I've not felt before." And I said, "I think I need to make a career path." And he's over here going, "Okay, I don't know what's happening to my wife." And we get to the garage and I said, "So I'm going to organize your tools." And
Yeah.
he's like, "No, you're not." And I
Love it.
said, "But I am." He gained a tool chest out of it. So when I was like,
Fabulous.
"I'm not gonna throw anything away. I just have a vision for this garage and your tools, we gotta do something with them."
Yeah.
And that's why I said, let me go, okay, before I make a career change, let me go and organize for others and see if I even like it. And if they even like it, like if
Yeah.
what I do, they like it. And then they did. I did a garage and a pantry, and I was sold, and they were like, that's when I realized how impactful organizing can be for someone else,
Yep.
is when I saw and they told me the stress that it relieved and the overwhelm that it relieved. And I was like, "Oh, well, see, I knew what it did for me,
Mhm.
but I didn't know if I could translate that to someone else."
And I love that you did that because I do think, there is something about, because I had a very similar path, but there is something different about doing it in someone else's house. And you have to decide, do I know how to translate those skills? Is what I do in my own house, am I able to teach someone else how to do that? Am I able to do it with someone else? But if you can translate that, and by the way, we will help teach you. We're happy to help teach you that too. But if you're able to do that and then you find like, oh my gosh, yes, this is absolutely my jam and I can do this in someone else's house, it's so rewarding to be able to help people get that freedom.
Yes, and the family that I chose to practice on,
Yeah.
it was the tough spaces. We had junk haulers come for the garage. She has ADHD. We went squirrel a few times
Yeah, for
on,
sure.
and it's just like, okay, gently bringing them back. Like, I put myself in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, in a tough job. And I was like, okay, yep.
And if you can do the hard stuff, you're exactly right. As you put yourself in a hard situation and you found out that you still loved it, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So what do you find are the things that like a client like that where, you have a garage space or a really, really hard space? Is that what you thrive on? Or like what do you like to work on?
I love pantries. I
Okay.
love pantries. I love all spaces, but I really like to be able to take a very cluttered space
Yeah.
and help them declutter, but then turn it into a functional system that they are able to easily maintain. Like, let's say a pantry, like I've gotten very good at pantries. And when the clients come home and they're like, oh my gosh, it was so easy to put up my groceries. I
Yep.
didn't have to find space for it. I knew exactly where it went. And to hear that months and, even a year later, they're still using the system and it's still effective for them, that is like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And they probably didn't rebuy groceries that they already had because
Right.
now they know what they've got.
Right. And that's invaluable to them because I think part of the overwhelm is, oh, I need this, coming home only to see 5 of those items.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes a toll on their mental health because they're beating themselves up for, no,
Yeah.
why didn't I
They're
just
frustrated. Yeah. They're mad at themselves. They have wasted money.
Mhm.
They do self-recrimination of like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Like there's a lot of regret and shame, and there are a lot of words that we deal with, but that's a super frustration point for people to buy multiples of things.
Yeah, but I think more for me, it's about really giving them that feeling and of they're back in control.
Yeah. They're in control of their house. Their house is not in control of them.
Yes, exactly.
I know that especially with like, I just think about some of the people that I work with, and when you walk into the house, you are just stressed out. Not me personally, but the client is stressed out, and our houses should be the place that we feel the safest and happiest.
Mhm.
And outside of maybe Disneyland, of course, but you should come home and you should open your door and not immediately feel that like, oh my gosh, there's stuff everywhere. And giving someone that gift, I find is just, I never get tired of it.
Yeah, the first garage I did, so the husband works very late at night. So, all day and comes home late at night and all stressed from the day. He said I would open the garage and it would just add more stress and more anxiety. And so he would walk in not a very happy person.
Yep.
And he told me, he goes, now I open the garage and I'm like, oh, it just like he can relax.
Yeah.
And that was just the trigger of opening the garage.
And I feel that same way about like if my kitchen is clear, like if I walk into my house and the kitchen has, if I haven't done a good job of clearing off the kitchen clutter, I feel that too. But there are some houses where you know that like just a few things would make them feel so much better when they open that door at the end of the day and not give them that anxiety feeling.
Yes.
So what kind of clients do you like working with? Like who's your ideal client?
I have recently gotten very clear on who my ideal client is based on a few clients that I'm currently working with. And I love working with them and we just jive
Yeah.
and we have a great time together. And so usually it's a mom, sometimes it's a husband that is the wife has threatened if we don't get this house under
We deal with a
control.
lot of marital problems in our work. Or like
Yeah.
I always joke about I do a lot of marriage therapy. So
Yes. But the person that is someone who is a nurturer. And what I mean by that is, so if you take my current clients, we have a teacher, we have a nurse, we have a caregiver.
okay. So
And
people who are in the helping professions.
yeah, and what has happened is they haven't taken care of themselves.
Yeah.
And so that kind of falls into what's going on in their home.
Yep.
And they've gotten to the point where they've raised the white flag.
Yeah.
I need help. And when they're at that point, we do some great work together because I'm a nurturer as well.
Yep.
And I can hold the space and help and make what seems completely unattainable, overwhelming, together we can work through any clutter and tackle it. And they end up just feeling back in control. And my teacher client has told me is she's like, I no longer feel like the clutter's in control of me. I'm conquering it.
I love that. Did it take you a while to arrive at that ideal client, or do you feel like you already knew you had that idea, or did it just kind of come to you?
I'm doing some like personal growth work
Yeah.
and understanding my personalities, and I just went back and looked at who I've worked with,
Mhm.
and I'm like, interesting that these three ladies I'm currently working with, we're having the best time
Yeah.
and we're decluttering, and sometimes it's emotional and sometimes it's fun, and but we're really getting things done, and I can just see how much it's helping them because they need to be able to fill their cup so that they can go and help others.
Yes.
Um,
We've used this analogy, and I know sometimes it's overused, but I think it's so right. It's like you have to put your own oxygen mask on before you can help someone else. And I really, really believe that about so many people. I think any organizing client we help, but particularly like you're saying, if someone is in a helping profession, teachers, nurses, doctors have had such a rough last couple of years, and they probably are just so burned out that there's nothing they want to do at the end of the day in their house. So being able to help those people, it means they're going to be able to help other people more effectively. I think that's awesome.
yeah, that fills my cup up too. I do love it when a husband calls and says,
Yeah.
okay, my wife says if we don't get this house under control, there's going to be a big problem. So I need help.
I love that. I appreciate when someone's vulnerable enough, like what, someone has to be vulnerable to ask us for help. And I love it when it's someone that might not be a quote traditional person that you would expect to be calling you. I think it's
Right.
awesome.
Yes.
There's something that you said that I want to talk about, like, because I believe in this very, very much. I have fun when I work. Like, not every client is going to be, a ball of laughs, right? But
Right. Right.
I like to laugh with people. I like to have fun with people. So how do you kind of inject that into your work? Like, does it just flow naturally? Does it
It
depend on the
does.
client? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. After the first session, we start to get a really good feel for each other.
Yeah.
And then I know when I can like crack a joke or,
Yeah.
and then I always go into it very lighthearted. And so I think that just makes them feel a little more comfortable to just be themselves.
Yeah. And obviously you have to be careful. Like, it has to be the right client and it has to be the right situation. But, every once in a while when you can get to the point with a client where you're like, listen, you already have 32 pairs of yoga pants. Like, do you really need this 33rd pair of yoga pants? When you can start making
Yes.
some of those jokes, like, it just makes things, I don't know. I just think it makes things more fun.
I have a client who we went through her pantry first and then we did her home office. And there were so many notepads and sticky notes
Yeah.
and flash drives.
Yeah.
And I said, they just kept coming and coming. We were finding them everywhere. And I said,
Yeah.
okay, you've won the award for my client with the most flash drives. And she's
Yes.
like,
Congratulations.
yes.
With all of my clients, I always, kind of the longer term people that are kind of doing the whole house, like, I always will tell them, okay, every single client has something that I tell them they're not allowed to buy any more of until everything is gone. And every single client has something very unique. And I always fess up. My own was Sharpies. I had so many Sharpies at my house when I got organized. And I said, I have not bought a Sharpie in literally 5 years. That's how many Sharpies I had. But I've had people that they have an overage of Scotch tape or they have too much wrapping paper or whatever. So I always do the like, okay, that's enough wrapping paper. No, no more
Yeah.
wrapping paper.
Yeah. I've had a lot of gift wrap.
Yeah.
A lot of bows, ribbons.
Yes, so many bows. I have a couple of records that I share with clients. One of them was I had someone that had 13 potato peelers. So I always joke that, like, as long as you don't have more than 13 potato peelers, you're good. And then I also once found, some people are like, oh, what's this like worst expired food that you've ever found? And I once found Vegemite that expired in 1984.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I always say, so if someone's like embarrassed because they have something like really
Right.
expired in their pantry, I'm
Yeah.
always like, no, 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 you're okay. You
Yes.
haven't reached the like the most expired thing I've ever dealt with. So
Yeah. And I'm sure you get this question a lot as well as like, okay, am I the worst client you
yes,
worked with? And
all the
I'm
time.
like, no, no. Are you
No.
sure? No, you're not.
Also, in my experience, the people that typically say that are the people who are actually the least disorganized. Like
Right.
it's often the people that I'm like, your house is actually in really good shape. Some people would love to have your house as their after. Like, but
Hmm.
it's always the people that are already pretty okay that think that this must be the worst house that I have ever encountered. And I'm like, no, sweetie.
No.
So, what are some of the things about running your actual business, not just organizing with people, but talk a little bit about, was there anything surprising to you when you started your own business?
I think it's surprising to me, and hopefully things will change with the more organizers that our industry has, but not a lot of systems or software cater to organizers.
Yeah.
So, you go to pick your industry and it's just not there.
Yeah.
So
We
that
pick
was,
other a lot. I have to pick other as my industry
yeah,
an awful lot.
yeah. So that was kind of surprising to me. So many organizing products to choose from. And thankfully, with repetition and I've got a pantry down.
Yeah.
Like, we can tweak a few things, but I know exactly what works really well, and I don't have to shop everywhere.
There's a lot of math because especially
Yeah.
when you're talking about products, like I have a space that's 16 inches wide and 14 inches deep, and I need blah, 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 doing all the math to figure out
Mhm.
what fits and how do I get something that's a satisfying, as precise a fit as possible. There's a lot of math.
Yeah. And I think another thing that kind of throws me off sometimes is I know before and afters aren't the holy grail of organizing. I like to do them, but I always kick myself when I forget to do it before.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, how am I going to remind myself? Oh, I'm going to set a
Yeah.
reminder before I go into that job. Like
Yep.
5 minutes in, my reminder is going to go off to take a before picture.
Yeah.
Well, you have to remind yourself to remind yourself.
That's true. I like to do, I don't even like before and after pictures for social media or anything like my website or anything.
Mhm.
I like to make sure that I have especially a before picture for the client because
Yes.
when you get done with a space, they don't remember what it looked like before.
Right. Yeah.
And so then sometimes they'll be like, oh, I haven't been able to keep it up. If you go back a few weeks later and they're like, oh, I haven't done a good job keeping it up. I love being able to pull out a before picture and be like, this is what it used to look like. You're
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love sending the clients their before and afters.
Yeah.
And they're always like, wow.
Yeah. Like
Exclamation.
even in my own house, like, part of my story was I was super disorganized and then like learned to love organizing.
Mhm.
So I occasionally I'll be doing a presentation and I always include in my presentation my own house's before pictures. And I lived here and I still don't remember always like, oh my gosh, that was really bad. And so I think it's really good to remind yourself sometimes like how far you have come. And for a client in particular, to make themselves feel better that, oh yeah, that's right. We have really come a long way.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about working with people? How do you feel about working with clients?
Yeah. So I love it when they always start off like, oh, me. Well, some clients go in, they're like, I can get rid of things. But I like it when there's a client and they're a little timid,
Yeah.
but then they catch the bug
Yep.
and they catch that motivation. So usually by round two, they're like, yep. Or towards an end of the session, and they're
Yep.
like, I don't want to think about it anymore. I really don't need it. Let's go. It either goes in the trash or it goes to donation. And I'm just like, all right, we've hit the sweet spot. Let's go.
What do you think is going to be the biggest thing when you retire, as you said, from your day job? What do you think is going to be the biggest change for you? What are you excited about being able to do this full time?
To put so much of that energy that I am putting into my day job into my business.
Yeah.
Because I can see other organizers in my area that aren't doing two jobs and how much they've grown. That gives me so much inspiration.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so possible. I can do this. I'm at a really good point in my business, and just being able to like get out and network more often than I'm able to, being in control of my schedule and putting all of that energy into one thing. I can't, I mean, I really don't know where it's going to go, but I feel
Yeah.
like it's going to go in in a big way.
So talk a little bit about, because we do have people that they go full bore and they're like, nope, I'm doing this full time. But we do have a lot of people that make the transition sort of like you have, and you have that safety net of
Mhm.
the, someone just earlier today called it the W-2 safety net, right? Like you have that, but tell me a little bit about how you came to the decision of, I'm going to keep the day job, but grow. Are you happy that you made that decision?
Yes, I've talked to you earlier this year
Yeah.
about the health challenges that I've had.
Yeah.
And so I didn't expect to have cancer,
Yeah.
but it happened. My goal was to retire in June,
Yeah.
but life had different plans.
Right.
So,
Life is always going to throw you curveballs, right? We don't expect the things that come our way sometimes, but also being able to say, okay, I'm going to pivot a little bit. This was not where I saw my plans going, but maybe
mhm.
my plans are just going to be delayed a little bit, or maybe I just need to go down a totally different path.
Yeah, and I'm very blessed because my diagnosis could have been horrible.
Yeah.
Basically, they removed it and I'm done. Just back to working again after recovering from surgery. So, I also kind of pause and say, well, what do I need to learn from this?
And I think that something that I felt in my old corporate life, and I'm not attributing this to you, like you may love your current job and just be really excited to go to it every day, but I was never happy going to work, really. It was something I had to do, right?
Yeah.
I have learned that, again, it's not like every day is perfect, right? Being a business owner, there are days when you're like, oh man, this is a really hard day, or I don't know how to handle this, or whatever. But being able to set your own path and being able to like what you do, my husband said at one point, you cannot put a price on your happiness.
Mhm.
And that is a really, really big thing. And being able to slow down a little bit and, say, my health is important. What do I need to do? And it might not be working 14 hours a day at a job that I don't enjoy. It might be doing something where I'm on my own path and I may make less money, or I may make the same amount of money, but it's just a different path. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I really make my own schedule, and I know that's not the case for most. So that has been such a benefit or an advantage for me to really get out and grow. But the busier I'm getting with organizing, just juggling both is very stressful.
Yeah,
So I'm
a lot.
really excited to offload. I'm sure there will be a different kind of stress, but I'm ready to offload that.
Yeah. I think it'll be really nice when you can focus on one thing,
Yes.
and like you said, it'll allow you to be able to do the work that you want to be able to build your business, but you can concentrate just on that versus going like dividing your brain basically.
Yes, and before organizing, I was in sports nutrition. So
Mhm.
that was my baby that I wanted to go full time in.
Yeah.
And so I've been wanting to do this since 2016.
Yeah.
I've learned that I'm a bit of a rebel and I don't like people telling me what to do with my life.
Yeah. I love being my own boss. We make a lot of jokes in our house about like, man, your boss is being really mean today. And I'm like, I know she's making me work like really hard. Or then I'll make jokes about like, my boss is like really lenient today. She's just letting me sit on the couch. But it is nice to be able to be in charge of your own stuff, right? And be able to say, today I'm going to work really hard, but tomorrow I'm going to give myself a day to go spend my time with my friends or whatever that looks like for you.
Great point, because I'm also learning to really focus on those self-care foundations.
What kind of things do you like to do for self-care? Because I believe in it deeply.
Yes. So what I've learned that really sets me up for a great day is I wake up and I stretch. I do some stretching exercises. Started meditating,
I
which,
love meditating.
wow, does it bring you to your center
Yep.
and get focused? Because I think, especially me with two jobs, I get so busy
Yep.
and I don't stop to really think about what do I need? What is my intuition saying? You
Yep.
know, what direction do I want to go in? So that has been profoundly helpful for me. And then going for a walk or not organizing, working out.
Yeah.
And then, going about your day. So those are kind of like the morning things that really set me up. And
Yep.
then the evening is going to bed early, turning.
Listen, I go to bed sometimes at 8 o'clock and I'm not sure. I'm like, I'm going to bed at toddler time. Bye. Good night.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And making sure your phone is like automatically being turned off of notifications. And
Yep.
I'll go to bed and then I have about 3 books I'm rotating through.
Yep.
And then I fall asleep. I found these warm eye masks. I think they're
Oh,
called
nice.
Starry something. I don't remember, but they're self-warming. So you open the pack and they warm up by themselves.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it just puts me right out.
I highly recommend sleep masks
Mhm.
because I used to sleep with a lot of lights on. I would always have to have the TV on. I liked a lot of light in my room. Now I'm like, no, please pitch black.
Yeah.
And a sleep mask makes me sleep so much better. And there are actually studies that like even a tiny bit of light can really mess up your sleep schedule.
Yes, that is very true. I love the book Sleep Smarter. It talks about that.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
What meditation do you use an app for meditation or do you YouTube or what do you do?
So right now it's a self meditation that I'm doing, and I'm following one. It's from the book called Creating Money.
Okay. Love that.
And so it's about manifesting what you want in your life.
Okay.
And so it just talks about, first, how do you want to feel? So you're
Mhm.
just manifesting that feeling, magnetizing it, attracting it. And then from there, you go to a person that you want to attract into your life. And then many people or an amount of money that you want. You're really in tune to yourself. And it talks about a coil. For them, it's like generating a coil
Okay.
out to that person. For me, I automatically thought of my heart opening and that big ray of sunshine going out to attract.
I love that. That's awesome. I find that, first of all, there are so many, if you guys are listening to this and you're like, oh, I've never meditated before, I'd like to start, or if you're skeptical, which I totally understand because I always was skeptical too, meditating, it helps calm your brain. Like if you have an overactive brain like I do, my brain is going 100 miles an hour at all times. And I am like, I'm doing the squirrel thing all the time in my brain. And it really helps me just calm down. And I use the Calm app usually, but the great thing, I love the Calm app because they also have these things called soundscapes. And you can, by the way, you can find these on YouTube for free anywhere, but sometimes, especially if I'm working on something on my computer, my brain will just be going too far. And I put these soundscapes in. Sometimes they're just like birds in a forest or
Mhm.
like a
Yeah.
babbling brook or whatever. And it calms me down
Yeah.
so fast. It's really amazing how your brain works.
Yeah, it is. I learned a new breathing technique yesterday. It's called hot cocoa breaths.
Oh, okay. Tell us more.
So you take a deep belly breath
Okay.
and then you put your hand on your heart and you take a deep belly breath. But when you blow out, you pretend like you have a straw in your mouth.
Okay.
So you do that,
Yeah.
and then You slowly blow it out as if you're not to disturb the marshmallows.
Okay.
And then you go as far out of the breath as you can, and then that just relaxes the nervous system.
So the other day I came home and my kids are really into different kind of relaxation techniques. And I came home and there was a big mixing bowl full of ice water. And I'm like, who was dipping their face in ice water? I knew immediately what it was. That's another big one that people do. They just shove their face into ice water.
Wow.
It's something
That
about the
would be
vagus.
so shocking to me.
It's something about the vagus nerve. It like calms down the
Okay.
vagus nerve or something. And because sometimes also people put ice on their chest, which is also apparently helpful. And I'm just like, we've all got to find what works for us. I'm not putting my face in ice water. I'm just not going to do that.
I would not enjoy that at all.
We've got to find our own things. So
Right.
what is your ideal, like, are you more of a morning person? What kind of when do you get your best work done?
In the morning, for
Okay.
sure. Yes. I've never been one to like, I love to work out in the morning. I don't necessarily like to have conversations in the morning.
I do not either.
So not a morning person on that aspect, but to be able to, my brain, once I've walked and I've done all my things, I'm ready to go. So I can do my best work in the morning for sure.
I'll tell you, the power of a simple walk. And by the way, it doesn't have to be an hour-long walk. You can do a 10-minute walk sometimes. And I remind myself, I'm just like, because I do not like to exercise. It's not my jam. I will remind myself sometimes like 10 minutes of endorphins can keep me going for like a really long time.
Yes, it does.
Or even at a client, if you're at a long client session, just every once in a while, this was also mostly when we were wearing masks all the time. I would say I need a breathing break, and I would go outside and just breathe fresh air. But if you can just go to a client and be like, you know what, I'm going to take just like a 5-minute break, just walk up and down, their neighborhood. It makes a huge difference to clearing your brain.
Yes. And I need to get better about that, because I will find like if I'm doing a 6-hour session, I really need to stop probably in that 3-hour mark.
Yeah.
And take a break and just eat and drink and use the restroom.
Yeah. I'm bad at it. I'm like, I tend to be the kind of person that just like, I just keep working and working and working and working. But every once in a while, I will have to remind myself, like, I'll actually be better and I'll be more efficient if I take a 10-minute just chill out break.
Yes, I've noticed that, because towards the end of those 6 hours, you're not as effective as you were in the first 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, if I'm working with other organizers on my team, I will make sure that they are taking their breaks and they're getting their water, and I just keep going. And I'm like, okay, let's reevaluate this.
Yeah.
Because you're really not getting more done.
No. And I always make sure I do the same thing with clients. I'll be like, you know what, you need to go eat a sandwich and go get some water. I'll be here in your closet reorganizing. You go do that. But you're exactly right, is you need to make sure you're doing that for yourself as well.
Yeah. So I do have one organizer that works with me more than the others. And she'll say, have you drink water? And I'm like, thank you. No, thank you.
There are things I'm not good at. I am excellent at drinking water. And I have realized like the power of drinking water is really, it's significant for real.
Yeah, it really
with
is.
Electrolytes too. Add electrolytes. That is really important, especially if you're hot and like if you're doing a sweaty summer job, especially in a garage or a basement or whatever, because it's physical work that we do. It's emotionally demanding with some clients. Some clients you really have to work on some deep emotional stuff, but then it is physically demanding. So like you have to make sure you build in recovery time for yourself too.
Organizers, once you start organizing, you quickly learn, well, oh, I better get in shape.
Yeah. Well, here's what happened to me, during the dark days of the pandemic, when I wasn't going anywhere, I was on my couch a lot. And then when I started going back into people's houses, I was like, oh, I'm really tired. And you realize, oh, every single day I was getting a lot of exercise. And then I stopped exercising for like 9 months.
Yeah.
You build up your skills and you can lose them if you're not careful.
That is true. That is very true.
So where do you think, if I talk to you in a year, what do you think? Tell me a little bit about what you imagine your business life is going to be.
I'm going to have a full-time team.
Love it.
and we are going to be able to service multiple clients in a day. I may or may not, I kind of toy with the idea of being fully in it or not, or maybe picking and choosing my jobs.
Yeah.
But because I really do love the work.
Yeah.
And I do love connecting with my clients. And so I don't know that I will be full-time in it, but I want to be in it. I feel kind of drawn to a franchise type
Okay.
of business. I don't know if it's a franchise or having teams in different locations, but I ultimately would love to end up at the beach.
Yeah.
That's my soul's calling.
I love it.
But
What?
in a year, I would love to have a full-time team.
Love it. Where would you beach? Where's your ideal beach?
So I'm in Texas, right?
Yep.
And so my ideal beach in Texas is South Padre.
Okay.
That I think would be a great opportunity to have a rental property
Mhm.
and be able to come visit. I don't know that that will be my full-time because I'm like, there's so many beaches out there.
I personally believe that you could just change your mind every 4 minutes too, and change your mind of what your dream is. So I'm excited for you to have time to explore every beach that you can find. There's a
Yes.
lot of miles of coastline in this country that you can go explore. So that's exciting.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
ready.
if you were to give advice to people, let's say it's you at the beginning of your business and you're kind of scared about, hey, what comes next? What advice would you give to people about starting in this industry?
You have the skills, you have everything in you that you need. So just do it. That's one. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect.
You
And
want to
just
say that?
think
Can you say that again, please?
it does not have to be perfect. It does not. I will share with you, there is an organizer in my area, and she barely has a website. But she's been in business for 5 years, I think. She just won the best organizer of Austin.
Yeah.
She barely has a website and she is rocking it.
Yeah. There are a
So,
lot of ways to do this business.
yeah, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And while you're having some downtime, use that as an opportunity to really think about how you want your business to work, how you want your customer journey to go, and start building those systems now. That's what I did. I got my business up and running, but it was a little slow at first. And I'm so, so, so thankful that I got my CRM up first. It
Yep.
just gave that customer experience from the get-go. It was just such a positive customer experience. And that was what was really important to me.
What you are saying, I think, is really important. And it's advice that I offer people a lot, because if you are building your business and maybe it's a little slow, maybe you're trying to figure out how you get clients, that type of thing, pretend like you have a client session, pretend you have a 3-hour session, spend
Mhm.
that 3 hours working on something in your business. So
Yes.
like you're saying, map out your customer experience, map out a website, map out how you might want to do a session, pretend like you have a 3-hour client session and you can't be on your phone and you can't be watching Netflix and you can't be chatting and making dinner, whatever. You have to devote your time to that, to your business, and building that ahead of time. You will be so happy with yourself when then you suddenly get really busy.
Yes. So what I just heard from you is your actions have to match your goals.
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we are honored to know you, and I am very, very happy that you are going to be organizing full time and that your health is good and that you are just a wonderful member of our community. And we are very glad to have your expertise and glad to have your time. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. And I am honored to be a part of the community.
The women that we work with in our community are so welcoming, and just it's a really, really great group of people, and we are lucky to have each other to be able to lean on.
Well, thank you. And thank you for leading us.
I love it. It is totally, and I mean this sincerely, it is my pleasure. I absolutely love doing it. And I love seeing people thrive. And I am always happy to see your smiling face. So thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to listening to my interview with Kris. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you would like to spend another hour with me, I would love to spend an hour with you. Please head over to our free workshop, the Pro Organizer's Profit Plan. It is up 24/7 at POroadmap.com. I would love to spend some more time with you and talk about how to make this business a reality. Have a great week, organizers.